Hello, I'm John Thorne from Thorny Motorsport, and this is one of the loveliest sounds you can hear. McLaren 12C starting up. Now, this is particularly lovely because this particular car is one that arrived to us completely dead. Wouldn't start, wouldn't turn over, nothing at all, absolutely zero. And the story about this little short video is partly a warning and partly some advice. And the warning is, if you are going to remap your McLaren, no matter what model, please, whatever mapping company you choose, do not let them map it via the OBD port. Now, there are two ways of mapping most cars. One is via the OBD port, which is the diagnostic port that any diagnostic equipment attaches to the car. In the McLaren's example, it's down by the footwell, and most cars they're around somewhere. And you can technically map all McLarens by plugging your mapping equipment into the OBD port, and that will then upload the file and do various processes. However, McLarens don't really like that. Okay, they can be done, but it runs a risk of immobilizing the entire car. So the only way you should map any McLaren from any of your tuning companies around the world is via bench. So basically what you do, you take the complete ECU off the car, you put it onto a bench, you then directly map onto the ECU itself, then put the ECU back on the car, then re-go. That's one of the reasons why we charge £3,000 for a map on a McLaren, is because it takes us a week. But the ECU comes on off the car 15, 20 times whilst we adjust the map to the car. Now, the problem with the mapping industry is there are a proportion of people out there who basically just sell software. You know, get your car in, bank the software on, off you go, take your £1,000. Now, McLaren isn't that kind of car, in all honesty. Not only are you risking a £75,000 engine if it goes wrong, but you get the scenario like we had with this one. And this particular car was owned by a customer of ours, lovely chap, but he lived a long way away, about 6 hours away. He wanted to get the car remapped, didn't have time, inclination to come to us, so took it to a third party. Now, I'm not going to name them. I actually mentioned this story a little while ago in a Facebook post about 6 months ago. But I'm not going to mention them because A, I don't like to name and shame, and B, because they know where they are. Cheers, guys. Now, he took it into the company we mapped, and what happened was that they tried to map it via OBD, and they immobilized the car, completely dead. Nothing would work at all. Their response was tell the customer there was a pre-existing issue, and that was the cause of the problem, and the car was then recovered to a McLaren dealer in the north of England, who looked at the car and identified the fact that, yes, the car was dead, and it needed at least one ECU, the gearbox ECU, and potentially a second ECU, because it simply wouldn't communicate with the car. Now, the total estimate of the bill at that point in time for the customer is near enough £5,500 to £6,000 for a new ECU and programming. He obviously then called us in a bit of desperation, said, I'm really sorry, should have brought it to you in the first place, but bottom line, what can we do? We recovered the car back to here, and I contacted the mapping company and said, what did you do? And they lied to me. Okay, I love that. That's probably why I'm doing this video. They didn't just say, yeah, John had an issue. They barefaced lied. I don't like liars. They said to me that they were reading the car, and as in the process of reading the car, when you map a car, you take the code off, you read it, and then you obviously put a new file on. Process of reading the car, it immobilized. Now, not only is that complete bullshit, because you cannot immobilize a car by reading it, it doesn't work that way. That's like copying a book by reading it, it doesn't work. But what they tried to do is map it OBD, then lied about it, and then made our life somewhat harder because we had to go through a procedure that we didn't need to do. Now, had they called us at the time it had immobilized, we could have walked them through the procedure to rebuild, to remove the issue. But because the car was disconnected from the mapping equipment, and because it went to somewhere else, all of the ECUs basically would not communicate with each other. Now, there are 11 ECUs on the 12C. They all talk to each other, and what happened was that they all went out of sync. So you had ECUs controlling it from gearbox to immobilized to engine, and none of them would talk to each other. So basically, the whole car was dead. It was a great big 1,500 kilo paperweight. Now, we spoke to McLaren about this, and they were, don't know, what are you going to do about it? But we've been mapping cars for 25 years now, so we have a rough idea what to do. And what we decided to do was literally delete the car. Literally went every single ECU, delete it to zero, map it back to nothing. So literally erase every file on every ECU. Okay? The reason behind this is because they won't talk to each other. You can't suddenly force one to talk to another one. You've got to go back to square one. So we spent 13 hours, I think it was, literally taking every issue back to nothing and then reprogramming it back up with the original code the car came with. One by one as it happened. And, you know, it was a bit of a 50-50. We weren't sure this was going to work. We're fairly sure logically it would do. But no one's ever mobilised a 12C at this point in time in the UK. But by process of building one by one, we did manage to get the car started, and it's working fine now. Build to a customer was about £1,200, not £5,500, which would have been built to replace the ECUs. Which, by the way, had they replaced the ECU, it wouldn't have fixed it, because the other ECU still wouldn't talk to it. So the moral of the story of this one is, if you're going to get your car mapped, do it on a bench, okay? If the mapping company is suggesting doing OBD, tell them to piss off, okay? Because all they're going to do is immobilise your car, okay? Secondly, if you're a mapping company and have a problem, don't lie to other people. If you want our help, we're happy to help. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. We are here to help as a process. We're not trying to name anybody or make yourself feel bad, but don't lie, okay? It just makes you look stupid, okay? And thirdly, you know what? If someone tells you a car's immobilised, don't take their view that you just throw parts at it to fix it. It can be fixed if you know what you're doing, and requires a bit of perseverance, in all honesty. This was one of those cars. You know, we could just chuck 5 ECUs in St Centimeters away, but we are fairly sure we could fix it, and I'm glad we did. So, a little short video, literally to say, you know what, we're quite proud of this car, got it going again. Frankly, it was a bit of an issue, and a little bit of warning for people at mapping cars if you can. All right, hope that's useful. Talk to you soon. Cheers.